Hey, welcome everybody. It's Matt, and I'm excited to be with you guys tonight. I think this will be a lot of fun. I've got a special guest, a fellow member that's going to join us. That he's made a really awesome formula. I'm just pretty excited to share it with you guys. So I think that's going to be a real treat. And I also had some really good questions come in about how to create your own formulas or how to take my existing formulas and put them in maybe a different order or put them into like a smaller track that may be easier for you to work with versus a larger track. So we're going to cover kind of all of that tonight. And of course, if you guys have questions as well about setup or certain formulas or whatnot, then certainly you can ask those afterwards as well. So let's make sure you guys can hear me, and then we'll jump right in. Let me just go to the questions box and make sure everything's coming in well. Great. Give me a little shout out if you're here. Dan, welcome. Dale, awesome. Glad you're here. Gabriel, nice. Good to see you here, man. Kyle, awesome. Welcome, welcome. Dean, good to see you. Steve, awesome. You made it. Fantastic. Very, very good. All right, so let's do this. Let's actually start with something really kind of cool, and that is an easy way for you guys to create your own tracks. So, for instance, you may say, Matt, how do I, if I'm doing like maybe lead generation or I'm doing some things for clients, and I don't necessarily want to run your whole track of like optimization from start to finish, but I just want to do citations. Like I maybe want to do like the master citations, the niche citations, and the location citations. Is there a way where I can just do those without having to do like the whole track and without having to apply those one at a time and just, make it a little bit easier, not having to copy, 3 formulas over. So let me show you this because I think some of you may not have seen this yet. You can create your own formulas that are literally just compilations of other formulas. It's really easy to do. So when you're in your account, you can just go into formulas and hit new formula. And let's just call this a custom track. Okay. Or let's say, you know what? Yeah, let's just call it a custom track. That's good. All right. So now when we're in here in this custom track, it's literally just a blank slate to start with. So what you can do is click and drag this add a formula icon to your canvas. And now what you can do is you can select what it is that you want. Now I'm in a different account right now, which you'll see in a little while. There's a reason for it. It's a special formula share account. But basically what I can do is I can add the different formulas that I want into here. Okay. And now if I want all these to happen at once, I can just put them on here independent of each other, or if I want certain things to happen before other things, then I can still connect them just the same way as I would individual tasks in a formula, and they'll then run in order, meaning this formula would have to complete before this other formula could start. All right, so there's multiple ways you can organize these, but this is a great way for those of you that want to create your own custom tracks, and you can do it exactly how you want. Oh, Tim's saying you can't see my screen. Okay, hold on a second. I apologize, guys. Here I'm showing you guys all this, and you can't see anything. I'm glad you messaged that in, and now I see your messages too. Steve, Dan, you guys are going, Matt, what's going on? Can't see. I'm talking away, and you guys can't see anything. Let's make sure you guys can see this now. The button has been pressed. It's better. Okay, we'll start from scratch. So let me show you what we're doing here. So we are in an account, and what we do is we go to formulas. Okay, so to create your own custom track, go to formulas and just click new formula. So I could call this like my custom track, right? Whatever I want this to be. So once I save that formula, I don't have to just put like regular tasks into this. I can just make this formula a compilation of other formulas. So I do that by just dragging this add a formula And you can put it anywhere on the canvas here that you want. You just drag and let go. All right, now what I can do is I can pick from any of the formulas in my account. This is a special formula share account, so there's like 8 formulas or something in here. So you can go ahead and just select the formulas that you want. You can drag them in. You can select them. You can put whatever ones that you want into here. And so when I make my tracks, this is how I do it. I just take all of my different formulas and I hook them together. All right, so you can have them start, if you leave them not connected, they'll all start at the same time. Or if you want them to be separate, I should say if you want them to go in a specific order, then you can connect them just like the tasks would be connected inside of a formula. So this one would have to complete before this formula would start. Okay, make sense? So this is like kind of a really cool way for you guys to just make your own things without having to actually create a formula from scratch. You can say, oh, Matt, you know what? I really like your citations and I really like reviews and I really like whatever. And you can just take 3 formulas and put them in your own formula, right? Or you can take and combine my stuff with your stuff. So that's what several people have been doing is they've been taking my formulas and just adding like their own like additions to them. Right? So they'll make a track and they'll put my formulas in, and then you can even still have regular tasks in here as well. So you can still put a regular task to happen in here, okay? Or if you want to get really fancy, you can have a conditional task, right? So it can say, hey, does the client have a GMB? Yes. Okay, then go to the optimize the GMB formula. If no, make them a GMB, and then you would have a formula for that. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do with the conditional tasks, and just basically taking formulas that are already out there and making them work for your situation. Because sometimes you guys may be having different offerings, or you may be just doing things different in your business, maybe a little bit different than what I do. So it's a way that you can make this fit your exact situation. So any questions on how you set those up? It's literally you just drag them in. But the question came in from Ray this week. He's been building some tracks, kind of compiling like all of the different trainings and different things that he knows in addition to my stuff into like his own track. And the advice that I gave him was, don't worry about having every single formula all detailed out. Just go ahead and make a blank basically a blank formula, and then put it into a track. Okay, so let me show you kind of an example of what that would look like. All right, so let's say you're going, okay, Matt, I have some things in my business that are not formalized, but I really need them to be formalized. So how can I use this? Well, this is like my way of, I call it outlining. Basically, you just come up with the frame of the puzzle and then fill in the pieces. So let's just create a formula, and let's just call this like keyword research. All right, let's say you needed to do keyword research. All right, and I'll just come in and I'll just put a single task in here, and I'll call it keyword research. Okay, and then as far as a skill, you can pick any skill that you want. I don't even know if we have strategy in this account, but we can put strategy in here. It's fine. Because all this can be changed later. The whole idea is that this is just a placeholder, all right? So now what I can do is I can come into my formula that I made, and I can just drag in this formula for keyword research. So I can say, you know what? I need to do keyword research, for a client. I don't have all that formalized maybe yet, right? I don't have all those steps or videos or all that stuff created, but I know I'm going to need that. So just make a blank formula for yourself with a dummy task in it, and then that way, now you can visually build out what you need to do. Now, this is how I made my first formulas, and when I'm making anything like fairly large or with a lot of steps, this is how I still make them today. Is I'll just outline them. I'll make a dummy formula with just a dummy task in it, and then I'll just make my track, and then I'll dump that in. All right. Then I'll make another formula, and then I'll add that in. So then you can have all of your different steps into your track here, and it's a little bit easier to get started then into your videos or your documentation or or even if you're taking my pieces and inserting them in, like you may say, hey, well, Matt's got a formula for citation, so I don't need to do that. I can just drag his in, but I want to make my own for this other thing. Well, you can mix and match formulas that way, but outlining them with just a dummy formula name and a dummy task is a really fast way to build out your roadmap of exactly what you want to happen for something, okay? So that should help you guys. Okay, great. All right, let me check my notes of other things that we wanted to cover, and then we'll get to our cool new formula. Okay, one other thing that I wanted to show you guys was repeating tasks or recurring tasks. So when you are in a formula, some of you have been building recurring tasks. And if you haven't, it's no big deal. I mean, you can just use my formulas or other people's formulas, but some of you, I think, have gotten pretty excited by the fact that you can have a recurring formula for client billing or reports or check-ins or even things like bug fixes. Did this bug get fixed? And have that thing repeat until the task stops and that bug was fixed. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do with recurring tasks, but I just wanted to show you guys when you use a recurring task, one of the options that some people have been using, which is really neat, is actually repeating on a specific calendar day. Okay, so let's say, for instance, you wanted to have something that happened on the 5th of every month, right? Or like the first Monday of every month or first Friday of every month or whatever it might be. This monthly recurring option here lets you configure that, and it's really neat. Another addition that we made recently, it's been in your account probably for a good maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You may have noticed it, but I didn't bring it up. And that is, you're going to see this Start ASAP option. Okay, that's actually now the default whenever you see these repeating options. Okay, so this will only show up in the recurring kind of tasks. So what the Start ASAP option is instead of picking a time, like before you actually had to pick a time, otherwise it would just default to like 12 o'clock, midnight. But you can go ahead and actually leave a task as a Start ASAP. What that's just going to mean is when you put this, when you make a project and put this formula in a project, it's just going to start that task immediately instead of waiting for a specific time. So let's say if you didn't have that set up and like we didn't have this option before, and let's just say you had 9 a.m. Well, if you bring this into a project and you want this to start right away, if it was after 9 o'clock your time, let's say you did this at 10 o'clock in the morning, then this task would not start right away. If it was every one day here, it would actually start tomorrow, okay? Because the next repetition of that would be tomorrow at 9 a.m., not today, because today at 9 a.m. already passed. So that Start ASAP option is now a default, okay? So you will see that in all these repeating options that, and that's the one I prefer to use. I'm really not setting times on anything aside from Start ASAP because it just makes it a little bit easier when you're doing those recurring tasks. You won't run into a situation where, oh shoot, I want to do this thing right now, but I can't because it's scheduled it for next week because the time already passed. So that's a little addition that we made that should make your life a little bit easier on recurring tasks. All right. Okay, great. Kyle, are you on? Sweet. Okay, great. So you guys may remember a couple webinars back that Kyle Patnode actually was, he made a formula all for Pro Rank Tracker. So long time ago, I showed my setup for Pro Rank Tracker in one of our like mastermind calls, I think it was, multi-location course, something like that. And so Kyle, was using Pro Rank Tracker, and so he was setting it up, according to like how I had shown it. Well, he went a little step further and took my steps and actually like made a really nice prep for it, where he made a spreadsheet to where you could actually enter in all the keywords, enter in the URL that you wanted, and a couple other little steps. And you could have that all filled out, and then a VA could go in, or yourself, whoever's going to do this, but preferably somebody other than you, and go into your ProRank Tracker account and pop all those keywords in. And there's a lot. ProRank Tracker I really, really like, but the only downside is it's kind of a pain to set up. There's a lot of little like check boxes and yes and no and exact match, not exact match, enter a business name in, but it's, no rank tracker is perfect, but it's the one I've tried, like them all. It's the one that I like the best because I can track map results that are not yet in the snack pack. And most other trackers do not do this. And what I love about that is you can see as you're optimizing a new GMB, and you'll see in a moment how Kyle set this up on the spreadsheet. So it's, got a spot for the business name, and it's really easy then to make your ProRank Tracker set up on that. But what I love is, say you have a new GMB and, maybe out of the gate, this isn't, if it's a big city or something, you're not in the snack pack yet, right? If it's a suburb, you could hit the snack pack right away if you did it right. But let's say it's a large city and you're not in the snack pack right away. Maybe you're like position number 10, or maybe you're number 20, or maybe lower, who knows? So you can actually see where you're at in the map results. And that's really nice to track, because as you start, that's what helped me refine my local tactics. Was I'd use ProRank Tracker and I would do my citations, or I would do my like niche citations, or I would link off my power pages and I would see things adjust. I would see my rankings improve. But I could see the organic rankings separate from map rankings. So I could see what things I was doing and how they were affecting map rankings and how they were affecting organic rankings. That's how I figured out, like, embedding the business map and putting the schema on the page and linking to local relevant places massively jumped my map rankings. So it's just, I love it. It's not a perfect rank tracker by any means, but I do love that you could see the map results separately, and also when you're outside of the snack pack. Okay. So that being said, I'm gonna unmute Kyle, and then what I'm gonna do is kind of walk you through. I'll just kind of give you a quick little overview of the formula. I'm gonna let Kyle explain kind of how he set this up and kind of how it works. All right. So let me unmute you. Kyle, can you hear me?
Hey, yep.
Cool, man. Thanks for doing this for everybody.
Yeah, no problem.
If you guys didn't catch this before, Kyle, a few weeks back, offered to share this formula with you. So you guys owe him, a big thanks, because he put a lot of work into this. So here is the formula in one of my accounts. Add clients keywords to ProRank Tracker. All right, and I think we might actually rename it to add local and GMB keywords to ProRank Tracker, because it tracks not only your organic results, but it tracks those GMB results too. So just give you a quick little overview of how this works, and then we'll let Kyle take you in a little bit deeper of how he preps the sheet and everything. But you guys will get this formula, so you'll be able to see exactly how it works. So there's a prep step, which this is what you would do. Assuming you were going to have a VA or somebody else doing this, you would do this prep step, which is get a ProRank Tracker login and password and fill out this spreadsheet. Okay. Once you do that, then this next task can start. Okay. This next task is where you would put the login and the password for ProRank Tracker. Okay. And where you would attach the spreadsheet. Now, what's really neat is Kyle made a video, okay, for this. Now, the video is not important on here because it's just Kyle going through a local client of his, and so obviously Kyle's not just gonna show you all the client data. But what we did was we had my formula creator go in and screenshot and describe all of the little steps. So he shows you the buttons. So he just literally took Kyle's instructions as he made this video, And he highlights exactly where you need to click, the boxes you need to check, how you need to enter the domain, the business name, the keywords. It literally walks you through every little step of how to set this up. I mean, it's foolproof, okay? So you can't mess it up. All right, so those are all the steps. But the thing I think that makes this really nice is that Kyle made a really handy spreadsheet. So in the prep step, there's a spreadsheet here, okay? Keywords Pro Rank Tracker sample, all right? So I'm gonna open up this spreadsheet, and Kyle, can you kind of describe to people just real briefly, like what kind of like why you set the spreadsheet up, or kind of just maybe a quick little overview of what goes into it so they get an idea of kind of how this plays into it, because they're gonna use this spreadsheet will get filled out, right? And then they'll use this or the VA or whoever's doing this will use this in order to paste those keywords in, set that domain up, put that GMB in to Pro Rank Tracker.
Yeah, for sure. So the idea behind this is that mainly for two things. One, you have a lead gen site that has multiple locations. So every time you go and add a location, you have to go and track those keywords. And also when you get a client on right away, sometimes their homepage ranks for certain given keywords, and you want to track those along with the interpage URLs that you have your GMBs hooked up to. So I made it for those two purposes. So each tab in the lower left there will be for a location. So each page or the first page there, as you can see, I have two columns that have URLs, and that's for that purpose, because the first URL, maybe you want to track the domain name, but the GMB is hooked up to maybe a different page or whatever. That's the reason there's two columns for URLs. And if you have a city page, let's say for Baltimore, those would be the same. But for the home page, sometimes, depending on where you have your GMB hooked up, it can be different. So that's the reason why there's two URLs there. But what you would want to do, just to sum it up, is go through, get your list of keywords that you probably do, when you first get a client on. You put those, each one in, for each line. You go and you find the GMB name that you're trying to track for this specific location. And if it's nearby or exact, I do a lot of addresses, but I believe, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, do you do the nearby for the service area, or is that exact?
I'm trying to recall. I'll have to go back because I don't set this up anymore. I got somebody else that's doing it. I think it's the nearby, but I'll double check on that.
Okay. So yeah, you click on the little tab, and then the city and state as well that you're putting into Pro Rank Tracker. So these are all the elements that the VA needs to be able to do step 2 with this formula, and that's going through and checking the boxes and putting in that information. So we're actually working on having maybe even a little formula for this, if I'm correct, Matt, that has your VA go and fills this in for you too, because if you have 30 locations for something, going through and doing this 30 times can get a little tedious. So we will work into that. I'm sure there'll just be a updated formula for that as well. But yeah, this is A to Z, so you don't got to worry about, as soon as you get a new client on, you can fill this out, give it to the VA, and know that your GMB and your organic rankings are being tracked properly.
Yeah, it's awesome, Kyle. It's awesome. So yeah, as Kyle said, basically you've got the URL columns, and then here, like, you're literally just going to fill up this column B with keywords, right? So as long as that list is that you want to put in, you're going to put them all there, and then the rest of this stuff just stays, at the top for the VA or whoever's setting this up just to copy this. Yep. But you mentioned multi-location, and that's probably, I guess that's another reason why I love Pro Rank Tracker so much, is with that map feature. let's just kind of show everybody, if they haven't seen this before, what this looks like. So one of the steps in Pro Rank Tracker when you're setting this up, it may be a little small to see via the webinar here, but once you get the formula, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. And that is, you actually enter kind of towards the beginning here, the domain, and then like one of these pipes, like this vertical bar and a space on either side of it, and then the business name. And so that's the key basically for tracking maps rankings. So it's going to go look for this business name in maps, not necessarily the snack pack, but in maps, and pull back where it's currently ranking. So it's just really valuable to see where you're at for all of your different keywords, especially in maps, because as you guys, I'm sure, realize, maps is where the phone calls are coming from massively, much more than organic results. So making sure that all of your map rankings are really on point is awesome. And I love it because you're not just looking at the snack pack. Some people are like, oh, I'm not in the snack pack. And it's like, well, okay, but you're number 4. What are you doing to move it from number 4 into the snack pack? So I love that it helps you to be more actionable with your decisions, right? You can see what's close or what's far away, and that can help a lot. So and in multi-location situations, like, you guys realize I'm a big fan of adding the city name after like the base brand name. So if this was, ABC Insulation, it would be ABC Insulation of, Detroit, ABC Insulation of Traverse City, ABC Insulation of Chicago, whatever it is. And so that's what I love about the way Kyle set up the sheet, is what you can just do if you're doing multiple locations or doing lead generation. You can just come down here and you can just go ahead and copy the tab. And so that way all your keywords, right, can transfer over. You may be changing them for some location names in there if you want, but your business name copies over, and you can just add of whatever the other city is, and it just makes it really easy to keep it organized. And I never found Pro Rank Tracker very easy to set up, so this definitely takes a lot of the frustration out of that. So ideally, we're going to have some other formulas that will be coming too for keyword research and other things. Like, if you think about this as kind of like it's a bit of a rabbit hole, right? Because you have Pro Rank Tracker or whatever tracker you're using, but you need your business information to put in there, which we've got that. But what about your keywords, right? What are the best ways to pull your keyword lists? Well, that's like another formula really that comes before this even. And so it kind of keeps going several layers back. But I would say pretty much you would have already some list of keywords, whether that's a short list or a long list. You'd have some keywords that you'd want to track, and you can just put those in here. So any questions on this for Kyle?
Yeah, and if once you guys do get this and use it, and you have positive additions that you want to add, feel free to message me, and we can go through and add on to it, because the more bulletproof it is, the better it's going to work for everybody.
Yeah, I'm really thrilled that you well, Kyle, this offer stands for you guys too, that we'll make a formula for you. You've got to just make the video or describe to us what's happening. Video is usually the easiest way to do it, and then we'll turn it into a formula for you. Well, Kyle was nice enough to take the one that we made for him and actually just share it with you. So make sure you guys thank him for that. But yeah, that's what makes this great, is someone's now like sparked. They're like, oh, cool. Yeah. And I see how this works. And now, I could add this little tweak to it, or what if you did this? And that's the collaboration is why I made this software. Is, if you try to do this stuff all by yourself, it's, number one, it's not very fun. Number two, you miss out on the mastermind effect, which is everybody's ideas coming together and creating something that no one person could have even come up with. So that's what's so cool about this, is by sharing and being open, you receive so much more. So Tim asked us, how many keywords per page are we tracking? It depends on the niche, Tim. Like for me in installation, I'm only tracking about 10 keywords per page because there's not a lot of keywords really. And if you did like spray foam insulation, city name, or the reverse, city name, spray foam insulation, typically the results are not much different. So, I've pared my list down quite a bit. I don't track every little thing. To me, ultimately, phone calls are what matter the most. But until I know that the call volume is monstrous coming in, we're really tracking all the keywords and making sure that we're moving up. So my average is probably like 15 to 20. I mean, for a lot of my lead gen stuff, I keep it pretty pared down because I just, it's not like I'm giving any report to anybody, and as long as I'm hitting kind of my major terms, that's plenty. Kyle, well, how many would you say that you would be tracking on average?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it really does depend on the client, but for when I was making this, I mean, we were probably tracking 25 to 30 because we were trying to rank that one page the GMB was hooked up to for multitude of services. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Right,
we
it
were
kind of
doing.
depends on like the niche and like just how many like sort of keywords are related to that. Something like insulation is not really called any other names, right? Versus let's say this is like a personal injury attorney. Well, there's a lot of different ways that people can search for that, so you're going to want to track more keywords, right? Some people are going to be typing in attorney, some people are going to type lawyer, some people are going to type injury, personal injury, accident. Like there's going to be a lot of different ways people might refer to that. And like Tim, I know you do some HVAC stuff. So think about that. There's going to be a lot of variations, more variations there because you're going to have like heating, you're going to have heating and cooling, you're going to have air conditioning. I've even seen like furnace repair, heater repair, heating repair. There's a lot of different keywords there. So you pick which ones are most important to you and track them. But kind of niche dependent. You'll probably have some more in that niche.
And what I
All
like
right.
to do,
Go ahead, Kyle.
I was gonna say what I like to do, especially for like personal injury and other things that, uh, it's because a lot of times people don't type in the geo modifier. So I always do what you said, Matt, is add it one time with the geo modifier, whether it's before or after the keyword, and then just the keyword too for that area. So if they were in the city of Minneapolis and they searched it without the geo modifier, to track snack pack rankings that way as well.
Yeah, good. That's a really good point. Really good point that Kyle brought up. So what he's saying is like in here, right? Let's just say this was for an HVAC company in Minneapolis, right? So instead of just having in like HVAC Minneapolis, right, or HVAC companies Minneapolis, he'll just do like HVAC, right, or HVAC companies, or HVAC, right? And then in this nearby section, he's going to put in here Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? And then when Pro Rank Tracker gets set up, Minneapolis, Minnesota is going to be used. So that way, if somebody is actually typing in Minneapolis for some of this stuff, great. But a lot of people, may just be typing in like, heating company or heating company near me or something like that. And now Pro Rank Tracker will be giving you those results based on, the actual location that you've set up, but not necessarily the location as part of the keyword.
Exactly.
Which is really valuable. This is something that Kyle, I think I had shared in Mastermind was especially when you're talking ranking around a whole metro area. So you guys know that I'm a huge fan of having lots of GMBs canvassing a whole metro. What this really comes into play there because what this does is like, for instance, let's say this wasn't Minneapolis. Let's say this was like Edina, Minnesota. Okay. So this is like a suburb of Minneapolis. Population much, much smaller than Minneapolis, but still a really great area. And if you go in a keyword tool, it's not going to show you that there's any search volume for HVAC or HVAC companies Edina. Probably nothing. Or if it does, it's going to be like 10 or, it's not going to be anything very meaningful. Most SEOs would ignore it because they're going to think that there's no volume there. It's not worth their time. However, with people searching like this now and not necessarily typing in their city after the keyword, what's going to happen is you're going to pick up a lot of people from proximity. So Google is going, oh, okay, I think you're in Edina or close to Edina. So when I type in heating company or HVAC, it's going to pull me those local results that Google thinks are closest to me. And that is how we're really winning with lots of GMBs and taking advantage of this proximity thing, okay? Because a lot of other SEOs and agencies out there, even lead gens, are going, oh, I don't want to rank for Edina. There's no volume there. I want to rank just for Minneapolis. So they go put their lead gen site up for Minneapolis, and they're competing and fighting with everybody in Minneapolis because that's what everybody wants to rank for. And instead, what we do is we go canvas the whole metro. So we have, 20 GMBs all around the whole metro. We don't care about, yeah, we'd like to rank in Minneapolis if we want to take that much effort, but usually we don't care about that. We just go hit all the suburbs, and then we make sure that we're tracking our rankings like this, okay? You can track this as well, but we like to track this because this shows us how we're performing in terms of proximity. Okay, so somebody types in just heating company near me or HVAC, and they're searching from around Edina, Minnesota, and then wham, our Edina, our ABC company of Edina location is the one that's ranking. Okay, and we do this again and again and again all over a whole metro area. And that's how we get like 1,000 phone calls is by doing it that way. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If it doesn't, ask questions, because that is how you make money with that. Okay. Great. Steve asks, so when you're using those terms on 3, 4, and 5, you don't put the city name in that last column. No, because what's going to happen, Steve, is this is more of like a staging template. We're not going to actually upload this to like Pro Rank Tracker. It's just going to be for the VA or whoever is going to set this up in Pro Rank Tracker. They're just going to need this row of information, and in terms of all these items, and the full keyword list. So in keywords here, we might have 10 keywords, 20 keywords, 30 keywords, however long your keyword list is going to be. This column is going to get filled up with those. The other column's just going to have one item. It's going to have like your domain, your URL, the GMB name, and then this locate either nearby or exact, and then the city and state that this is targeted for. So the only column that's actually going to have anything more than one entry is going to be this keyword column, and that can just be filled up with all the keywords that you want. Make sense? Cool. You're welcome. So, Kyle, anything else you want to add on that, or we good?
Nope, all good, all good. Like I said, if they just have, additions or something, I did make this for me, so it makes sense for me, but, I'm definitely up for altering it to make it better, so just let me know.
Cool. Yeah, no, when I saw it, it made perfect sense to me. I loved it. It was really, I'm a big fan of like prepping and staging things before you actually do it. And the more you can just focus on strategy and just being clear on what direction you want to go with stuff, and you have templates like this to where somebody else can just plug all this stuff in, that's awesome. So thanks so much for coming up with this, man. It's great.
Yeah, definitely welcome. And then just feel free to throw it in the Facebook group.
Yeah, that's what all the questions I've been getting are here is, okay, Matt, I want the formula. How do I get the formula? So yeah. I will put it in the chat for everybody right now, and I'll put it in the Facebook group too, but I'll give it to you guys right now, and you guys I'll tag Kyle in the group, so make sure that you thank him. So Kyle, don't you think we should change this name before we share it? We probably want to call this add local and GMB keywords, because if somebody's doing something outside of local and GMB, there's other ways of using Pro Rank Tracker besides what we've shown here, right?
Yeah.
So this would be the way that you'd want to use it for local and GMB. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put this into the chat box, and let me know if you guys get that okay. You should, if you're logged into MODUS8, you should just be able to click that. It should open it up, and you should automatically be able to click yes and accept the formula share and have it in your account. All right. Let me go back to questions. So it looks like we had some questions here. Okay, I think we got those ones. Okay, Tim asked, if people are searching HVAC South Philly, can I have a GMB for South Philly and a part of South Philly, like Southwest Philly? I'm gonna unmute you and make sure I understand this right, Tim. Thinking you just mean that you want a couple different GMBs and slightly different keywords, but hey, Tim.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Matt, and thank you for earlier. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, of course, man. You're welcome. You know I'm happy to help. Seeing you guys succeed is really like why I do this. Like, I think you guys realize that by now. Like, it's far more rewarding to see, like, you know, to have like a family, like a community of people that are doing well. You know, like I learned that years ago when I was doing magic shows and just crushing it. It was like I was crushing it everywhere, but it was kind of lonely because I was the only one in that niche that was nationwide and just going to town. And so I did, you know, some trainings and seminars to help other people out. But, you know, it's far more fun to have people that are that I see as equals here that are doing cool stuff in different areas and different niches and that I can help. So, okay, tell me what's going on with these GMBs.
So I use this as an example. You take Philadelphia, South Philly as a GMB, and then South Philly has 4 or 5 different little areas within South Philly. So I would want to do a GMB for each of those smaller areas so you have the relevance to the local. But then does that eliminate not using South Philly as a GMB because you have the sum of the little parts?
So let me ask you this. Would they all be considered like within the city limits of Philadelphia, or would these actually, like when you say South Philly, just so I understand, or Southwest Philly, like would there be other city names like where these people would be residing, or is it all just considered Philadelphia?
It's all considered Philadelphia.
Okay, got it. So you're wondering, like, does it make well, you would have multiple GMBs, but you're wondering just on the setup of how you'd want to track this?
Well, would you
Sorry,
have
I'm not
a?
sure I understand.
I guess because I know you don't want to overlap. You have all the small pieces of the puzzle. You have the puzzle covered of Philadelphia, South Philadelphia. But a lot of people search South Philadelphia.
So you can have a GMB for South Philadelphia, and then what I would do is I would just make sure that your South Philadelphia listing, you know, within that GMB dashboard just has a separate service area from your other Philly ones. Like, just make sure they all kind of, it's like a franchise. Like, this one's got these 10 zip codes, or this one's got this 5 zip codes. Like, just make sure you separate them out so they're not like doubling up.
But then the South Philadelphia one would have all 20 zip codes.
Then I would not do the South. Then what I would do is, well, let me ask you this. Would people search Southwest Philly as well, or they just search South Philly?
They'll just search South Philly, but I'm hoping that, like, let's say if I have a GMB that says HVAC of Southwest Philly, that and the zip code and everything, I'm actually over there with the GMB, so I'm closer to them.
No, I see what you're saying. I think what I would do to start here, Tim, is I would do the South Philly GMB, and I would see, you know, I'd get that up right away, and I would set the service area as all of South Philly, and then use your tracking and just basically set this up multiple times, but do your tracking from different areas. Does that make sense? Track it from the Southwest part, track it from the South.
What? I absolutely understand now. The thing, I have all the GMBs already.
Okay.
So I would just eliminate the South Philly one.
Yeah, I think you're going to be fine, even if you just eliminated it. Like, if you already have like the smaller ones, I mean, the smaller ones are going to bring you more traffic because it's more visibility. So in that case, I would eliminate the South Philly one, And you have South. It's almost the same name, Southwest Philly and South Philly.
Well, I
So
use
if they're
that as an
searching South
example.
Philly, your others are still going to pull.
Right. Okay. And I use South and Southwest to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
But there
Yeah,
are,
I mean,
it can be
your keywords are
Hathorne,
in
it can
that.
be-
I mean, what I'm seeing from doing all these GMBs is that if by having just the city name as part of the business name,
yes.
it really does a lot of the heavy lifting. I mean, well, Dean can attest to that too. I mean, he put the post in the group, and I mean, he's like getting, he's getting calls like, and he's not the only one. There's several others that have messaged me too, that are getting calls, and it's like they've only been up for 3 days or something. So
Yeah. No, I'm
obviously I'm
absolutely.
going gung ho. I probably got 1,500 GMBs myself, and adding. I mean, just continuing to do it. And I see the same thing. Like we put up kind of a metro, and some parts of the metro are going to start getting calls that first week. So just you got the city name or a close enough match to it in there, it's going to do just as well.
Okay. I am good. You answered the question. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Sorry it took me a bit, but I think
No,
I get it now. So
you got it. That's
all
good.
right,
Thank you.
awesome. Yeah, have fun with those. That's awesome. I think you're going
I'll
to do
keep
really
you
well with
posted.
that.
Yeah, thanks.
You bet. Awesome. Just going through the questions here. Dean, my guess is you probably have a formula that is one of the like originals that was before we had the automatic outsourcer updates. So if you're not seeing an outsourcer on that, because there's an outsourcer confirmed, that's exactly what's going on. Yeah, just pop a message into support, and we'll just go in there and just send in your credentials. Just send in your username and password, and just say, hey, I don't, this formula, I don't have outsourcers on it. And we'll fix it. Yeah, the formula library is being coded right now. So as soon as that's ready, then you guys will be able to see all your formulas. I should say not only all your formulas, but all the formulas that are publicly shared in MODUS8 right there. So that will, going forward, you won't have that issue at all. It's just, you got in a little earlier, and so those older formulas are still lurking out there. Wow. Dean says he's getting between 2 and 6 phone calls a day on those GMBs. That's awesome. And you have what, 10 listings? 10 suburbs you did? 10 suburbs. Wow, that's pretty awesome. That's great, man. That's awesome. I'm excited for you guys. You're gonna just once you actually attach them to a website. I mean, you don't even have a website attached. Yeah, you don't have no website, no optimization even done yet. That's great. No, I'm not doing anything on the screen. I'm just clicking my mouse through the chat window, so you're not missing anything. Yeah, you're good. You're not missing anything. Your client I gotta unmute you. Oh my gosh, getting me too excited here, man. Dean, I'm unmuting you. Hopefully you don't have crazy loud noises in the background. What's up, brother?
Not much. My fiance is actually on the treadmill in the background, so if you hear some hustling and bustling in the background, that's her. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
sitting behind the desk right now, all giddy
That's
about my 2
fantastic,
calls
man.
for my GMBs.
You guys are keeping in shape so you can fit into that wedding gear, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we're a little ways out, but we're being proactive here.
That's awesome.
Working it in more than one. Yeah. So no, dude, the GMBs, they're working, and yeah, we got a client on Monday, and I actually updated the call tracking so all the calls go to him last night, and then he ended up getting 2 calls and 2 deals today. So I mean, it was like really crazy to see like my call reel popping up on my phone, and hearing the calls go through. And then he actually called right away after the first call. Like he couldn't believe it. He was actually like more excited than I was. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. So he's like now he's actually thinking about expanding his company down the road. which is pretty crazy. I mean, just after one call, I mean, now he's like thinking 10, times 10. It's just, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, isn't that awesome though that like you brought that to him, because like, dude, you are a god in his eyes now. He's like in love. He's in love with you. He's like, dude, how did you do this?
Yeah, for sure. Best Black Friday ever, for sure.
Oh, good stuff, man. That's so cool. I'm so proud of you that you got him lined up before you even had like a site or anything else in place. You just had some calls coming in, so you're like, hey, gonna go find somebody. And that's freaking great, man. I'm so
honestly,
pumped for you.
it feels like a cheat code. It feels like a Konami cheat code in like a video game, and it's like, was it really this easy? And yeah, it just kind of all fell into place. I got to knock on wood a little bit. I mean, there's still, you've been saying like I don't have a website up or anything, and just have the GMBs, and I'm going to be doing some more optimization for sure. Using some formulas to capitalize on it, but. Yeah, so I mean, it's getting me excited, and I'm just really motivated to work on this a bunch this weekend.
Yeah, dude, awesome. Yeah, it's just rinse and repeat. It's just getting the right formulas going for you, and then it's just rinse and repeat for those 10 locations, and it's not that tough then once you've done one. So yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks for giving everybody the update on that. It's pretty cool.
For sure. Yep, I'm a believer.
Cool, man. It is like a cheat code, really. I mean, I've been doing SEO for a long time, and it's like. If you guys could literally see, maybe I'll have to make like a video for you guys on this, but if you could literally see how often Twilio is charging my card every day, it would be kind of funny to see, because like Twilio is charging me like sometimes like every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and I've like kept upping my like refill level. But I think I need to up it some more, because like they're charging me all the time, because I just have that much activity going through my account, which I've done really well with this over the years, but like this is set up to be probably like 10 times or something. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, glad to see you guys are making stuff happen. It's really cool. Let me just go through the other questions here. Oh, Dale, did you miss the post on this? Dale asked, so GMBs with no website, are these in small non-competitive cities? Did you see the post, or you didn't see the post in the Facebook group? No, you didn't see it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me give you the gist of this real fast, because it is pretty awesome. So the whole idea here, Dale, is you go ahead and you put GMBs up in suburbs in a major metro area. So they're ignored by other SEOs because they don't show up on keyword trackers or keyword tools. They don't even register. So they are kind of non-competitive when you think about it. But non-competitive doesn't mean non-valuable, right? So they're overlooked, right? It's kind of like going to like an auction, and there's like a dusty painting, and nobody's thought to like kind of brush the dust off the corner just a little bit to see the artist name and go, whoa, that thing's really valuable, right? I have a mother-in-law that like, she is a master at this. She goes to like all these auctions, and she finds like stuff that's worth sometimes tens of thousands of dollars because people don't know what it is. And that's like, this is like the digital equivalent of that, is people think that the suburbs don't get search volume, right? They don't show up in any tools, so why bother? But the key though is you need volume. You're not going to get a slew of calls with just 1 or 2 suburbs in most cases. You're going to need, like, my baseline is 10. 10 is where I found the real magic happens. Now, if you go more and more and more, or more multiple metros, it just gets even better. But like 10 is kind of the baseline. And so like what you do is you just pick 10 really good kind of populated suburbs, and you need to think about what the business is, because if it's like some kind of a home service business, there may be some suburbs that are better than others. Like if a certain suburb doesn't have a lot of single family homes, and you're talking that this is for like a landscaping company or like a fencing company or something, Well, if they're just, mostly like apartments and there's not really a lot of yards with fences maybe, then it's probably not, that suburb may not produce as much for you. So it does depend on the business a little bit, but if the business is pretty general in nature, or has a wide appeal, then you can just pick the most populated suburbs. Okay? And by doing that, now when somebody searches, landscaping companies or landscapers or lawn care or whatever it might be, and they're in a suburb, your GMB is going to pull. And if you use the city name in the GMB business name, like ABC Landscaping of, and then the suburb name, you're going to find that these things rank very quickly. In some cases, as soon as you get one of these listings delivered from us, like you're going to see that they will be in a snack pack immediately, just because the lack of competition. And the best thing is if you just go get a few reviews on it, season it a little bit, make it look nice. But in Dean's case, he didn't have any reviews. I don't think he probably even has any reviews at all on them yet. He was getting calls before he even knew he had them, before he even knew the listings were live. So it's just taking advantage of the fact that people are overlooked. Oh, Dean says he's now working on the reviews with MODUS8. But up until now, there haven't been any reviews. So that's kind of, does that make sense, Dale? You're putting them up in non-competitive areas, and it works awesome. So Steve says, why is it my GMB does not show up in the whole city? I find that where I am and my GMB only reaches like 5 miles. How do I cover the rest of the town when there are no other suburbs? Steve, is the service area in that case set to the whole city? It can just be that, this is like really kind of proving why multiple GMBs makes a lot of sense, is because when you have a lot of competitors, even in a big city, Google will typically not show a business across the whole entire city. We're not even just talking like suburbs now, we're talking just a single city. There's probably enough businesses of that type within the city that Google doesn't play favorites. They just show everybody depending on, where people are looking from. So that's really why Google's kind of snowing people with this whole service area thing, because they have enough people in most niches and most big cities or decent sized cities that they don't have to show you over the whole area. They don't want to show you over the whole area because they'd rather you not get the business that you want and buy ads instead. So that's why having several locations really makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah, multiple GMBs is really, really, really good. Right, yeah, Steve said there's plenty of people in the niche I'm in, that is for sure. Yeah, so if people are searching close to where that, where that guy is, then they're going to show him. And if it's another guy across, even just not even across town, but maybe 5 miles away, 10 miles away, people are looking there, they're probably going to show him. So they did this, when they switched to this proximity thing, they really did it as a way to increase ad sales, because they took the people that were getting, they basically just said, you know what, we're making everybody even. Like, even if you were ranking #1 in Los Angeles for all these terms, guess what? Your traffic is going bye-bye. We'll rank you when you're part of the Los Angeles here, but not for everything in Los Angeles. And Aaron in our group can attest to that, because when they switched to proximity, he had some rankings for a taxi business in some cities. And I remember when this switched, because he said to me, he goes, Matt, they just freaking destroyed my lead gen. I mean, he was getting thousands of calls per week for this taxi business, and I think it was cut by like maybe 80-90% or something. If you see him at an event, you can ask him, and he will attest to this proximity thing, because he saw firsthand when he was #1 in a city, a big city, and they switched to proximity, and his traffic and his call volume, everything just got slashed. And so the solution to getting that back is by having multiple GMBs, right? That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. They would much rather people buy AdWords Express or Google Guaranteed or whatever else they want to sell, right? That's their way of monetizing it. All right. Any other questions that you guys have for me? We're at our hour mark here, so unless you guys have any other questions, I'm going to stop there. Those of you that still haven't had a one-on-one session with me, make sure you go ahead and schedule that. You can send a message into support, and we'll send you my calendar link. I know those of you that have done that, that's been really valuable. Questions that you had on specific formulas or how to apply things really helped. So if you haven't done that, take advantage of it, because it will. The people that have done it, like, we're kind of teetering, like, okay, like, I'm kind of into MODUS8 and I'm doing a few things, and some things are making sense and some are not, but then they like got some clarity and now it's like wham. I can see based on the activity in MODUS8 that wham, stuff is clicking for them, and now, you know, they're really using a lot more formulas and realizing what other formulas that they need. So Lee, hey Lee. Lee asked, when you're talking about South Philly, did you address how to handle if there is a city that has like 5 to 6 zip codes? Is it advisable to find neighborhoods that call themselves by a different name and even receive mail that way, but are still technically the primary city? Totally cool, in that case, Lee, to carve up that city by specific neighborhoods, all right? And I would say neighborhoods, like, they need to have pretty decent population. If it's, you know, assuming we're talking maybe like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people or something like that, you know, that's a decent enough amount of people that you could like carve it up, and even receive, you know, like you said, you could name it sort of the let's call it like the preferred name, right? So people may be living in a city, but they don't want to call it Philadelphia per se. It's like some more upscale name that they live in, like this neighborhood or something. And if there's a zip code for that, or zip codes for that, then you can just leave those zip codes out of your other GMBs and have a GMB just dedicated for what they call that neighborhood or that like community within the city. I see this a lot of times for like gated communities. It can be popular in different parts, usually more of the southern parts of the country, but you know, gated communities where it's like a community name and there may be a few thousand homes or something within this area. I have this happen for some of my Texas clients. There's like these kind of like gated sort of communities, and instead of just calling it the main city name, we call it by, you know, like the community name. So yeah, totally valid. The only thing you just want to watch for is just make sure you don't overlap your service areas. Make sure that you're only using the zip code or zip codes for that community name there. Don't use them in any other GMBs under that same brand name. If you have different brand names and different accounts, it doesn't matter. But if they're sharing a brand name like ABC Company of, then definitely keep the service areas separate. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Steve said, how do I learn more about what you're doing with the GMBs? I'm actually going to be hosting a webinar. It's going to be free for everybody. You don't have to have taken my GMB course or anything else. It's going to be purely focused around, I mean, it's not obviously going to cover everything GMBs because I've got other training around that, but it will be focused all on this proximity strategy and how to set up multiple GMBs around a metro area. So I may still do that this Friday. So just watch your email, watch the group. If I'm able to squeeze it in here still this week, I will. There's a lot of people that have been asking about it, so I will find a time and make it happen. I do have a course. Yeah, I do have. It's called Multi-Location Mastery. It's at summitmarketingsystems.com/coaching. I'll drop it in the chat. I think a lot of you have already taken this. If you haven't seen it, then you can explore it. But it is everything GMBs basically. Okay, it does talk about proximity a little bit. Some of this proximity stuff is very like my strategy for handling it has been refined over the last couple years here. So I definitely do touch on that side of things and go over full GMB optimization in the course, but locating like hyper located GMBs and tons of them is something that is real recent here, right? I've had over the last couple years GMBs in every in kind of like every city around a metro, but more recently I'm saturating them even heavier. In some cases, even multiple brand names within the same niche. So yeah, I will be talking more about this on my webinar around it for sure. No, the course, you can still get the course. The course, here's the scoop of the course. My schedule is so busy that I literally don't have another free night each week in order to run a webinar, because I run my webinars at night, and so that just works well for my family and kids schedule and stuff. So this was ran on Tuesday nights. Well, Tuesday nights, I have my mastermind group. Wednesday night, I have this group. And so I don't really have a free night open in order to run this. So what I have done for people that have missed attending this live is that you can go ahead and still sign up for this. There's been about 100 people that have signed up for this. You can still go ahead and sign up for this. Buy the training. You can buy it in like a 3-pay or a 10-pay. Is literally is like $100 a month. It's pretty inexpensive. And what you can do is instantly get the recordings from all 16 sessions. Okay, so you can get everything. You can see, I won't talk about it more on here. If you're interested, you can go and check it out. But if you look at the testimonials that came from it, people absolutely have loved that training. Okay, so if you get it, then you'll just get the recordings right away. Okay, you're welcome. You bet. All right, so that's it for tonight. If you guys need anything else in the meantime, you can either just message me or hit up support, and we will take care of you. So we'll be back next week. I'll have some other formulas, some of my formulas to share with you guys. And I will post Kyle's formula again in the group, so you have that. And that'll be it for tonight. So thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.